Welcome to podcast number 476. We're going to talk about the things that are always late in construction. Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. This is really funny. So this could either sound really, really okay or really, really bad. So I'm in the bathroom in a Courtyard by Marriott in Jacksonville, Florida. There's a huge echo in here. Totally weird. My 3 kiddos are outside watching a cartoon called Navy SEALs, and it's about actual like leopard seals that are in a cartoon. Super funny. They're out there having fun. I'm wanting to do this podcast, and so I'm like, I got to find a quiet spot. Yeah, I'm in Florida. Didn't expect it to be cold. It's freezing outside, and I don't want to walk to the car. So I'm in the bathroom, and I'm totally clothed, all totally legit, which is kind of funny. It takes me into a side story here. So and this may be serious. So if I go dark and you can't get a hold of me by email, then this is real. And if it's not real, then it's super funny. But I got an email from my email address from a hacker that said, "You've been hacked. I've been logging into your camera on your computer screen. And if you don't pay $1,500, blah, 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 to my Bitcoin account, then I'm going to release footage that we've taken secretly through your webcam." And I was thinking to myself, now, to most people, that might be a little bit freaky. But the worst thing I've ever done in front of a camera and in front of my computer in my office is probably running late to a meeting and just coming to a meeting in shorts, or worst case, my underwear while I have a shirt on. Like, and I think that, like, if that went out on the internet, like if hackers like really released that, that would probably be more funny than anything, and would probably increase all of our ratings for anything and get us more people connecting. So like, I'm pretty good. I think I'm okay. I just, like, you can tell it's a scammer when the thing they're threatening like isn't a problem you have. But anyway, so that was a funny little story. What were we talking about? Okay, so I've got so much stuff, so much content, so many videos and stuff I want to get out. Lean Field, I'm going to make that blow up on YouTube. We're just jamming and getting things systematized over here between Spencer, Kevin, and Katie and me, and all of our Upwork people and the other folks that work with us, our partners. And so we're really excited. I don't know why I said that, but this topic is really, I'm passionate about tonight. And I think that I repeat things so much in my day-to-day life that I take for granted that it's probably already on a podcast. I don't think this one is. It's pretty basic and it's pretty simple. And so I do want to mention it and make sure that I've never missed it. But these things are always late. Actually, what I can do here is I'm on my phone, but I'm getting way behind on the feedback. So let me go ahead and do a quick feedback one as well. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. My name is, and I won't tell you the name, I'm currently working as a lead superintendent for a small commercial GC. I have been in and around the industry my entire life. My ancestors were among the first pioneers to settle in Utah, so I guess you could say that building is in my blood. Over the past 10 years or so, my family and I had been living in the Washington, D.C. area, where I had been building and maintaining fueling stations in the mid-Atlantic region. Last year, we were starting to get anxious about getting back to Utah to be closer to family, and it was right around that time when an old friend called and offered me a job as a superintendent in Salt Lake City. Funny how things just seem to fall into place sometimes. Needless to say, I was a little nervous because I had been away from building construction for a while, so I searched iBooks, and that's when I found your book. Well done. I love it and use it often. In fact, I turned my director onto it, and he bought a copy for each person in our division. I also listen to the podcast and love that as well. I'm getting ready to start a $40 million project, and as you can imagine, I'm nervous. I've been trying to find the field engineering methods manual that I have heard you refer to on your podcast, but I'm having a hard time finding it. Could you possibly tell me who the author is and where I may be able to find it? Also, I would be grateful for any other recommendations or suggestions. So I do remember I did tell him the author of Wes Crawford. He wrote it. He wrote it in a sabbatical, so he owns it. But he taught at Purdue University, and the book's called Construction Surveying and Layout: A Field Engineering Methods Manual. And that book is amazing. Every new builder should avail themselves of that content and really read that book. When I first started in construction, I read that book 8 times. And I bet you I could tie 90% of my success to that. And so really appreciate that. The other bit of advice is, when I think about being a great superintendent, I think about reading as many lean books as I possibly can. The Goal, The Bottleneck Rules, The Toyota Way, 2-Second Lean, The Lean Builder, Construction Scrum, Tax Planning and Integrated Control, Elevating Construction Superintendents. There's also a couple of other neat books: How to Win Friends and Influence People, Leadership and Self-Deception. And I would say that we have to, what was the one that I just, there's The Art of War, the 33 Strategies of War, and I would definitely recommend the movie Patton at a minimum for those things. And it's pretty fantastic stuff. But staying connected to any content that you can out there would be absolutely great advice. So here's a little bit of great advice. It might seem common sense, Cole, and you might be in civil, you might be in concrete, you might be an electrician, you might be wherever, but the same kind of principles apply. Everywhere I go, no matter what, the exterior skin is late on a building, the elevators are late on a building, the switchgear is late on a building, the air handlers have difficulty, and what else? Long lead items like tile, Italian tile, high complex finishes, things like that. Now, everybody knows once you get on the job to go ahead and get the elevators going and get the exterior skin going and to, do those things. But my argument is that those things need to start in design development. I remember Ryan Young early on was like, we were in the middle of design development on a project, and he was like, we need to get a weekly meeting going with the exterior. We need to get a weekly meeting going with the elevator contractors. And I was like, well, you crazy. We don't have design. Wait, not there yet. Wait, not there yet. Wait, not there yet. Wait, not there yet. As if that would be any comfort to wait, because eventually it's just going to end up being our problem anyway. So we talked the owner into bringing on, and there wasn't a pre-construction actual cost for this, but there was a letter of intent. But we brought on, in a certain capacity, early design assist trade partners for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, for the exterior skin, and for elevators. And we started them early on, and creating a detailed procurement schedule and then an installation schedule for the exterior skin, for the elevator, and for those long lead areas or long lead items for air handlers and things like that was very, very key. And it prevented us from being delayed. And I would say that most projects, they're like, yeah, Jason, I knew to order those things. And I totally get it. But did you order them in design? Did you find it? Well, we can't because we don't have a job. Hey, I didn't have a job either. Get them on board. See if we can ask the owner, would you release $23,000 for submittals? Would you, to get this detailing done? Would you allow us to issue a letter of intent, right? Would the company that you work for be willing to go at risk for $20,000 or $30,000? It's definitely better than the consequences of not having those things there on time. And so I would say, at least in the middle of design development, you start working with your exterior skin contractor, your elevators, other long lead procurement items. Those are always late. Every job. Oh, there's the exterior, there's the elevators. Oh, there's the exterior, there's the elevators. Oh, there's the exterior, there's the elevators. Okay, so get that done early in design. Now, here's a couple of tips and tricks. I told you this before, but you have to stay with me. If you have something like that, we need a very detailed sequence. So I want you to pull plan the entire sequence. And if the trade partners won't get it to you, and if it's hard to get them in the office, go to their office. But I'm looking for a detailed sequence. So like for instance, unitized curtain wall. I'm not going to get this exactly right, but usually for exterior unitized curtain wall procurement, sorry, I lost myself there. Usually you'll have preliminary samples, right? And then once you have those preliminary samples, then we'll start to we need the drawings for I think that's it. Yeah, for the curtain wall, the mullions, the dies that will extrude for the extrusions for the unitized curtain wall. You'll need to get those approved so that you have the right assembly in there. And that unitized curtain wall assembly can be put together in the trade partner's shop before it comes out. And after you get those dies approved, then you're going to have, and you have the samples approved, then you're going to have to get your shop drawings. They're going to have to start to come together, and you're going to have an initial metal panel and glass order that you're going to release. There's going to be some concurrent approvals with the shop drawings for other items while that material is being ordered and heading into the shop while they finalize those things. It's very unlikely that you're going to get a mock-up, a performance mock-up, instead of just an aesthetics mock-up. What I mean by that, if you're talking about an exterior system, especially using the example of the exterior curtain wall, a performance mock-up would mean that you get the glass, the extrusions, you get the assembly put together, and you actually build it in with, the eaves or the brick, or basically at least the framing, sheathing, and flashing and caulking that go around the unitized curtain wall, and actually you water test it and you see how it performs, right? That's a performance mock-up. Most of the time we don't have the time to do that because everything's already pre-ordered and on its way on a slow boat from China. And so literally when you assemble the mock-up, it's just an aesthetic mock-up, meaning it's just there to see if there's any best practices for installation, but you're already at risk. And it's just there to show the designers what it looks like. And it really is quite useless. I would recommend that you don't spend $100,000 building that thing. You should just go give Field Verified a call out here in Arizona. They'll build a mock-up for 1/10 of the cost, test it there on location, and give you all the information you need. And you can send your owners and anybody trade partners there, or you can video conferencing with them. But anyway, so there's the mock-up piece to the schedule. And then there's when the materials come to the shop and they assemble it. And then there's putting them into bookends and then shipping them to the project site. And then shaking out the materials, stocking the floors, the installation based on other adjacent assemblies, right? And then there's the assembly, there's water testing, then the ability to put your fireproofing and installation and your knee walls, your furred walls on the inside with insulation, sealing up the building. I mean, the exterior is just this one big train of activities that's crucial. Now, here's the critical part. Some of this stuff has to be field measured. So there's like 5 or 6 key points along this path. And if I got in front of a computer, I could give you a detailed schedule. Most of the time I would just copy an older one or get it from the trade partner, but I've done it enough times that I have most of them memorized. But literally, your samples are going to be a huge one. Your dies are going to be another one. Your material, your glass release is going to be another one. Your shop drawing approval is going to be another one. Your material being delivered to the trade partner's shop is going to be another one. Any field measurement for critical assemblies, like for metal panels that are field measured, is going to be another one. And then your install date. So there's 5 or 6 key dates. Now here's a trick that I had. That's in a schedule, but I also target those dates and I put them on, and I told you this before, but I put them on an Outlook meeting invite. And so what it do when I copy everybody on the whole team, and so it goes to their calendar, and so one day it flags, hey, exterior skin contractor is supposed to be executing the purchase order for the glass order today, for section whatever. And that's when you call the trade partner and you say, hey, did this critical point of release happen? Because it needs to happen in order for us to make schedule. And so my point is that these things are always late because 2 things happen. We don't start early enough, And when we try to start, and I say the word try intentionally, try to start early enough, but then something holds us up, we don't get creative enough and tenacious enough to actually make it happen. We give up instead of asking if we could go at risk or get an early financial release or issue an LOI, right? And then the other thing is, once it's procured, we just trust that the process is happening without checking the intermediate points of release. And we just can't do that, right? I remember one time tracking an elevator, a project team tracking an elevator procurement until the cab was about to be manufactured, and they never checked that point of release. And it turns out they never released that cab. I remember one time, exterior curtain wall, they got everything all the way up to the point of ordering the glass and just assumed the glass would be ordered. And then 3 weeks later, when they were like, how are those panels coming? The contractor was like, "Oop, I forgot to hit execute on this purchase order." And it was an absolute nightmare. And the glass was actually 6 weeks late, not just 3 weeks late. We have to have those points of release and manage that supply chain all the way through. So this might happen with your electrical gear, for your service entry section, for your distribution sections, for your distribution panels. It might happen with your HVAC system, your air handlers, right? Your exhaust, your cooling towers, whatever the case may be, your VAVs, your fan coil units, whatever. We have to track those critical things. It could happen with anything. You know, a couple of other examples of things that are always late: permanent power to the building, comm to the building, right? Gas, water. Any of this infrastructure, these are long lead items that are sometimes 4 to 9 months, and we need to have those tracked with those key points of release. So my message in this podcast is that these things are always late, but you already knew that, so that was a waste of time. What I'm saying is they don't need to go early. They need to start in design. You need to get creative on how we can start, even if you don't have a contract, and execute a prime agreement and money. And you need to track the points of release along the way. And you need to do all that in accordance with buffers so you stay ahead of it. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. This applies to anybody in the industry. The question I would ask you is, what type of material, what procurement item, what critical scope, what long lead affects you? Whether you're a trade partner or a general contractor or an owner, what is it, and how can you manage it better to make sure that you're way ahead of it, to where, just like if using a World War II analogy, once Patton and his Third Army reaches a point where they need more fuel to go in and kill Hitler and win the war earlier than it was, we have the fuel there. What could we have done to maintain the supply chains and head them off and get them to where they needed to be before we run out? On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred